Hey, welcome to NextMeta, a podcast and a newsletter about on-chain economies, coordination, most effective tactics, and the bigger picture. Serious topics and a not-so-serious host. Hope you enjoy. All right, welcome Cooper to the NextMeta podcast.
What's going on, man? It's great to see you and great to be on the podcast.
Yeah, you too, man. So Cooper, also known as the music NFTs guy or the tallest guy in crypto. Me and Cooper go way back to the early days of the MetaCartel, where he joined in like 2019 and actually interviewed me back in the day. So we kind of came full circle here. And looking forward to getting into the episode.
Same here. It's actually been a fun journey watching the whole evolution of, MetaCartel and getting into the space in 2019. And I want to give a big shout out to you and just really the whole MetaCartel crew, because you guys were really the first family that I found in the space. And I was actually on a podcast last week with a project called Guild, and he was asking me, like, how did you get into the space? How did you kind of find your way into music, NFTs, and on-chain music? And MetaCartel played such a big role in that for me, because I feel like it was the first place that people were focused on things that weren't just like DeFi or just like super heavy infrastructure, super financialized and whatnot. And I don't know, as far as like you and I conversation, I feel like we've always kind of been interested in figuring out how to like really get people into the space and having fun and having a good time and meeting one another. So excited to get into it, man. I feel like we got quite a lot of surface ground to cover here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so for the people who don't know you, would you care about sharing like how you got here or why you got here?
Yeah, absolutely. The high level intro is that, hey guys, I'm Cooper. I'm building an on-chain record label called Coop Records, but that's really been the result of a 5 to 10 year journey throughout music and crypto. And so I went to school for a music business. I was doing artist management. I was DJing. And coming out of college, I just realized that there wasn't really a clear path for me in music. It was a very convoluted industry. I didn't really see a lot of upside in it. And so I found crypto in 2017 as really just an outlet to express myself and take a little bit more ownership over my life and my career. And so at the time, that was just ICOs, doing the thing, trading tokens on KuCoin and Bitfrex and Binance and all that good stuff, and really just trying to understand the legitimacy of the space. But I would say the through line that carried me throughout it was just the ability to really make my own schedule, work on whatever I wanted. I was really out there just having to go and fight for my own money, fight for my own income. And I remember coming out of college, my parents were super confused about my decision to go full-time into crypto. At that point, it was very unestablished, but I would say my journey on how I got here was 2017, running up the ICO playbook, writing white papers for some of the worst projects you could ever imagine, and basically just trying to survive. I was backpacking, going around Southeast Asia, going to crypto conferences and stopping by all these conferences and these booths and being like, what is going on here? Like, all of these projects suck, and they clearly just raised a bunch of money to try and build something that didn't even really need to be built in the first place. And so thankfully, throughout that process, 2018, 2019, DeFi summer starts to get a little pop in, projects like Maker and Uniswap come out. And I started to realize that there was like a legitimate group of people that was in the space, but it just took a couple years to really get there. Around this time is obviously when I met you guys with MetaCartel and whatnot. But, I found governance to be something that I was really excited about, because I'm not technical, I'm not a coder, but I'm able to communicate, and I really loved writing. And something that I'm sure you and I will talk about is when I joined MetaCartel, I was doing interviews with the people on the DAO and really just trying to tell the stories of these communities. And so I think the through line of my career, which we can get into a little bit more later, was basically just trying to figure out how do you bring cultural relevancy to the space, and how do I, as an individual, kind of communicate the culture that exists amongst these projects and these communities as a way to sort of champion the stuff that I found exciting and make it accessible and fun for other people to come into the space as well.
Right. Yeah, that all makes sense. Yeah, for people who don't know you, like, it sounds like, okay, he was interested in music and doing artist management, and now he's running a record label. Like, it sounds like a straight shot, but it's been a whole lot of like, you've been all over the place, like getting into crypto and finding your way. So yeah, I wanted to ask you about finding your way in crypto and like creating value. I know you advocate really like trying to create value wherever you go. And when you joined MetaCartel, you started with a series of interviews. I know when you joined other like DeFi DAOs, you were like dropping feedback on proposals on their forums and stuff like that. So yeah, you want to go a bit more into that and how that played a role in your success?
Yeah, I mean, I would say in general, I always want to spend time in places where I feel like I can move the needle. It's something that I've just really tried to keep myself true to. I want to be in spaces and in communities where my time and energy actually moves the needle in increasing the value of that project and increasing the brand awareness of it. And so my compass for what that has looked like has very heavily evolved relative to what is popular in the market. If you joined crypto in 2017, ICOs were basically the only thing that people cared about. 2019, 2020, DeFi was basically the main thing and the block and basically the only thing to care about again. And I feel like for me, it's just been an evolution of just watching where people's attention is going. And so from ICOs to DeFi to DAOs, there then became a time and a place where DAOs were really the popular term of the summer or of the year, for a better word. And that turned into NFTs. And at that point, I feel like there was this very interesting progression that happened where crypto is always changing and evolving. You could argue today it's fundamentally different than it was 2 years, 3 years, 5 years ago. And I think for me, the common throughput there was just, where do I feel like I am able to understand why people are excited about this space, and how do I communicate that in a way that makes it easy for other people to understand why that is valuable. And so to your point about finding your way and kind of communicating value, what that looked like was, I don't like to use the word like community building because I feel like it gets like a bad rep, but I would say from a very high level, I started out doing a lot of journalism, a lot of governance work, and then I sort of stepped into more community coordination, which was organizing, governance calls and weekly meetings and whatnot. And that basically evolved into like project management. I found myself basically leading sprints around token launches or sprints around protocol upgrades or sprints around getting governance forums up to date or getting, proposals up and posted and whatnot. And I would say these days, what that looks like with the record label is taking all of those learnings that I had from being really involved in DAOs and on these community forums and trying to bring that energy and spirit to something that I'm uniquely passionate about, which is music. And in this episode, I'm sure we'll go into the fact that I am a very niche, believer in on-chain music and music NFTs. But to your point earlier, it's been my passion for my whole life. And so I think being able to find a foundation where I can spend time both in music and in crypto feels super aligned and energized to me, because for a long time there, I was living a double life. I was, loving music on the side and going to concerts 3 to 5 times a week, helping artists with artist management. And then I was doing crypto over here, but they had no through line. Like there was no connection between the two. It was always just two completely separate worlds. And so I think for me, being able to really lock in and double down on the belief that I can find a way to marry the two worlds of crypto and music together, it's given me a strong sense of purpose. And I feel like that's been the driving factor for, what we've been building now for the last year to year and a half.
Right. Yeah, when the NFTs came around, you must have been like, oh, like my time is near. Like finally
I definitely
place
felt
to
that.
connect
Yeah, it was really interesting because when NFTs did come around, I remember buying CryptoPunks early and my friends getting mad at me or like just clowning me, being like, why are you buying CryptoPunks when DeFi is all the rave? Like why would you ever sell your DeFi tokens to buy these stupid NFTs? And so I feel like early on, I kind of recognized that NFTs had more cultural opportunity than what currently existed in the space. And I think a big part of that was watching Nifty Gateway and these sort of like bigger projects bringing in brands and creators who had never touched crypto before. Now, granted, we got a lot wrong, but I think when I started to see, celebrities and high profile artists starting to release NFTs, I was like, okay, this is a category that you can really use to get anyone into the space. And so at that time, I moved out here to LA. I started working for a music project called Audius. And I just really wanted to be the guy who people in music could trust to get into crypto. And that actually had very little to do with putting their music on chain at the time. It was basically me just being a sounding board to say like, hey, this project is legit. This project is not legit. Here's what you want to do to actually gain the trust of the community. Here are the people that you should know to gain trust in the community, and let me help you navigate the space because it's super intimidating. And I think that those principles have carried over into what we're doing now at the record label. But it's very interesting to watch the way that NFTs evolve, because it was a opportunity for me to really start to step into this more like onboarding type person. And I feel like it was really the beacon that kind of allowed me to create the foundation that now exists today for the record label.
Right. And since then, NFTs, like the whole NFT hype, has kind of died down, and most of the NFTs have taken a nosedive. But you keep talking about the music NFTs. So I wanted to ask you, like, so does that mean that you stop sort of like following the latest narrative and you're just focused on what you're trying to build, or are you kind of trying to juggle both?
I'm definitely always following the latest narrative. I think I'm trying to be extremely aware of when things are not clicking anymore, when they just don't have attention or volume or value. And so I think for me, like NFTs as a category just aren't cool anymore. And so what you saw is that token prices came down 90% because they weren't culturally relevant as they once were before. Now, granted, there are a couple projects here and there that pop up that have a little moment and, do their thing, but it's definitely not anywhere near the zeitgeist of what it was in the last bull market. And I think for me, you mentioned the word music NFTs. When that kind of term popped up, I went really hard on promoting it because it just aligned so much with my beliefs that, crypto is this technology that can empower anyone in the world. It empowered me. It gave me a career path, etc. I loved music. I figured there was an application to it, but that meme got way overblown relative to the impact that it actually made. And I think that the now perception of it is that music NFTs are a complete joke. People don't understand them. They don't want to collect them. They don't see why they have value. And to be completely honest with you, I think there's a ton of merit to that. I think that there's so much work that needs to be done around figuring out why music would have value on chain when historically speaking, it's been very difficult for music to find value in the first place. And so I think for me, the conversation that's happening now is how do we use the infrastructure that's been built today to onboard artists in a very seamless way. And we can go into what that looks like. But more than that, it's almost evolving this meme of music NFTs into something that is relevant with today's meta and today's narratives, but actually is exciting not only to people who are passionate about music like me, but also to people who are just into crypto in the first place. And I think what success looks like for me is almost as much about making it relevant, cool, and exciting for the people in crypto as it is for the people that are not in crypto. And I think right now we're in this interesting place where it's not really clicking fully with music people yet. And it's definitely not fully clicking with crypto people yet. And so I think the work that we're doing around the record label is saying, how do we just watch all of these emerging products, these narratives, these foundations, these infrastructure providers to build something that is exciting to both crypto people and music people alike. And if we can do that, then I think we're in a really good spot.
It sounds good. And for the people who are still wondering why music NFTs even why were they supposed to be a thing, or why are they becoming a thing? So what's the why behind the music NFTs?
It's really interesting because when I answer the why, I just feel like I'm kind of speaking about principles that don't really resonate with people. So I would say my why answer would be it's just a more direct way to support the artist and to build a relationship with them. But I don't think people really care about that. I think that for me, I was able to meet so many of my favorite artists by buying their NFT that I really understood the value in that experience. I had been going to shows for 10 plus years, and through collecting NFTs, I was able to form direct relationships with these artists, have experiences in music that I never had before. And so to me, I sort of saw it as the connective tissue that allowed you to build a deeper relationship with the artists that you loved. I think now the way that I view it is it's more just about social signaling. I think in general, we're noticing that NFTs are evolving to these unlimited open edition assets. They're $2 or less to collect, and they're not meant to be flipped or speculated on. And I think the value in that is really just creating connective tissue between you and your friends. Being able to see what songs you like, what artists you like, etc. Being able to see how big a fan you are of a certain artist. And so I think that there's still a ton of work to be done here, but I would say the why for music NFTs is that artists actually get paid, which is the first most important thing. And then second from that would be it's the opportunity to create a deeper social graph around the artists that you love and the songs you love, and help there be a better way to tangibly show that you were an early fan of an artist, and hopefully create a way for you to be able to invest in their upside and their success through purchasing their tokens and being invested in their communities.
Well said. Yeah, I really like this aspect of using them to create a bond between the artists and the people who like the artist, and then the artist later on being able to really have a database of the people who supported them early on, or their true fans. That's super cool for sure.
I think that's where the misalignment comes between crypto people and music people, though. And I talk to artists all the time about this, but they love their fans because their fans don't have a financial expectation of them. Their fans just love their music because they think their music is amazing, and they love coming to their shows, and they love following them because they want to be closer to this artist. There's no financial expectation or investment situation. And so a lot of the friction that's existed with music NFTs, and really just NFTs more broadly, has been creators that see success in the space, in the crypto space, end up becoming this beacon for speculation. And so you have all these people who are crypto people who are buying NFTs because they think the artist is going to get more popular, because they think that they're going to blow up, because they think they're going to be able to sell it. And the artist thinks that those collectors are not their real fans because their relationship is predicated upon the financial investment they've made into that artist's career. And so I think a lot of the education that we've been doing on the record label is removing this idea of speculation. And I think it does need to come back in, so we can get into that a little bit later. But for right now, it's entirely removing the idea of there being any speculation, removing the idea that there needs to be any utility, and instead just make it about supporting the music. You know, in the same way that someone will go to a concert and buy a t-shirt or just buy a ticket to a concert in the first place, how do we sort of recreate that same energy around like fandom on chain? Because right now it's pretty much entirely just driven by speculation. And I think that there's a lot of merit in that, but I think it has historically been the biggest blocker from people wanting to get into the crypto space from the music world, because they only see it as a giant casino. And I think that there's a lot of truth to that. And I think that a lot of artists who have been in the space for a long time get really turned off when they do well in the space, because now they're beholden to, you know, this group of like investors, and it's not really something that they signed up for in the first place.
Right. Yeah. It's like, when are you blowing up? It's the new the new when Lambo, when Moon.
Literally. And what's kind of
That's
messed up about
interesting.
that is that there are a couple artists in the space who have gone on to have very, I'm not going to say very successful, but they're doing well in their career. I mean, you have an artist like Daniel Allen, who had a hit record recently, #1 song. You have an artist named West Coast, who just sold out his headline tour. And these artists have been putting their music on chain from day one. But there's not a super strong correlation between an artist doing well in the traditional world and the artist doing well in the crypto world. They're just two completely separate things. And so to your point about like, when are you blowing up? The better question there is almost like, when are you blowing up in crypto? Because if you think about it from the perspective of like a Beeple or an Xcopy or like any of these other artists that did well in the NFT run in 2021, they didn't really pop off much more in like the traditional world. They just popped off within crypto. Like they just got a lot of people in crypto to believe in them. And so I think something that I struggle with is, we run a crypto record label. We focus all of our attention upon like developing the artist brand in the crypto community, but artists don't care about wanting to have a brand in crypto. They just want to get real fans, and they want to go play stadiums, and they want to get 1 million streams. And they want to do all these things that are just like what artistry has been for the last 100 years of existence. And so when I go to them and be like, oh, if you want to sell more NFTs, or you want to like do better in the crypto space, you need to like be on Warpcast, and you need to be like buying these tokens on base and doing all this crazy shit. They're just like, dude, I don't have time for that. I don't want to do that. And so I think historically we haven't seen many like home runs when it comes to like crypto and music, because I just don't think there has been a desire from any musicians to like really fundamentally double down on wanting to be super popular in crypto, because they don't see the value of it in the first place.
Right. But so you've been pushing kind of against this speculation, but do you think there's space for like the speculation, or like investing, people sort of like investing in their artists and not like, yeah, like buying their tokens obviously because they love the artist, but there's this like economic side as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my
sell
whole
tokens
North
to
Star.
fund the album production or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different combinations here. I would say that at its simplest core, you should be able to go on Uniswap and buy $5 of your favorite artist. And that token should be powered by the sales that they have on chain. And so if they're selling music NFTs or they're selling digital merchandise, being able to use that as the source of liquidity for that token's ongoing success, I think is really compelling to me. And I think a big reason why I do believe so much in musicians and these sort of larger creators is that they have a substantial body of work, and they have a theoretically endless cap on the amount of fans that can get involved into the space. And so I think if I squint and I really pray super hard and I really, manifest this to happen, what this looks like is an artist has a token that is on Uniswap, and it's being purchased not only by crypto people, but also by their fans. And you can think about if someone comes to an artist show, or if they buy a t-shirt, or if they stream their music 100 times, or if they pre-save their link, there's a more direct way to give those fans artist tokens. And if they are early to that artist's career and the artist does end up blowing up, now you have this world there actually is a real correlation between the artist becoming more popular in the real world and their token mooning in the crypto world. That being said, I think the world in which you're able to effectively give a fan crypto tokens for doing off-chain actions is extremely complicated. It's extremely convoluted. I think we will get there, but I think we're still like 3 to 5 years away. So how I'm starting to think about it now is let's just focus on these on-chain activities. And what that looks like for the record label is An artist has a song that comes out on Spotify. We take that song and we upload it to Sound on the same day. We allow that song to be collected for $2 as an unlimited open edition. And that is generating the equivalent of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of streams for the artist in the first week of their release. Now, right now, what's happening is that artist is just looking at that ETH and going like, holy shit, I actually made money on my music, which doesn't really happen that much. And now I have this sort of like crypto investment portfolio that I can build up. But I think where my mind is now evolving is how do we start to connect that, intention of an artist token back to these activities that are happening on chain, where theoretically, if I were to buy your song on Sound for $2, I could get back 50 cents worth of artist tokens. And those artist tokens would be valued at whatever the price is at the time of that sale happening. And as these artists are selling 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 editions on chain, you're actually generating a significant amount of on-chain earnings that could be used to funnel and fuel these artist tokens' success. And so I'm getting a little bit out there on like the future curve now, but what I see happening is that artists just have their full catalog on chain. They have dozens of songs that you can collect. People are buying them not because they want to speculate on them, but because they just want to support the artist. And you're taking the liquidity that is being generated from those sales and you're putting it into something that is meant to be speculated on, which is the artist token. And if someone is able to generate a consistent flow of support for their music on chain, it's a very synonymous relationship. And I think that there's some very cool stuff that could happen with, the creation of these artist tokens and the introduction of this net new asset class.
For sure. Yeah, so many interesting things could be done. Or even like simple things like you buy a t-shirt, you get some celebrity tokens. You buy their like concert tickets, you get some tokens, stuff like that. And that's that would be a good model for these celebrity tokens. I mean, I guess most of them just want their tokens to pump, but if there was a way, like if people were collecting these NFTs from before, like they have a fan base that they can just airdrop their tokens to instead of just launching it and waiting for people to buy.
Totally. I mean, it's definitely like it's an interesting point in time that we're at because I just really pay attention to like what mainstream people are doing within crypto. And to your point right there, it's like celebrities are coming into the space now and they're launching pump fund tokens on Solana. And I think you can look at that from a high level and just go, oh, they're just doing a cash grab. Like they're just celebrities. Like they just want to pump their token and whatnot. But there's a reason why they want to do that. And I think there's a lot of value to understanding the desire for that and understanding, the simplicity of how easy it is to launch a token on Pump Fund and the fact that all these rappers are able to do it having never touched crypto before. And so I think for me, something that I juggle a lot is the space needs to feel fun. Like if you're pitching, getting into the space as like a 10-year commitment to someone that's super heavy and it's about, the return on investment and about how much can you generate on an annual basis from your streams and whatnot, like just kind of loses the magic. Like I think the beauty of crypto is that it is so like net new that people can really dream up and believe these like crazy things about it. And so just to kind of like tie it back together there, a big reason why I am like in this very moment so excited about artist tokens for this cycle is that you're already seeing it happen on Solana with these celebrity coins. Now, granted, they're not sustainable and they don't really have a foundation that's going to keep them generating, liquidity and revenue in the long term right now. But I do think there is something really important to recognize about the fact that celebrities and artists and these mainstream creators are coming into Solana and launching these pump fund tokens. And I think if we can use that energy to really craft a more sustainable and foundational relationship for artists on chain in the future, I'm optimistic by the end of this cycle that we can have at least the early blueprints of a few of these in place, so that it can kind of create a case study that this is possible and it is worth paying attention to over a longer period of time.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think a bunch of them do come in just to do a cash grab, but there's probably a lot of them they do pump that fund because it's super simple to do, and they're not in crypto, so they don't have like all these like years of thinking and ideas of like all of the possibilities of what can be done, and it's kind of on us to show them. But there's going to be at least one really successful token this cycle, I think.
100%. I find it funny that we as a industry label any celebrity launching a token immediately as a cash grab when that's what all of us did. I mean, I'm not going to say all of us, I'm only speaking myself, but like, bro, I got into crypto to make money. You know what I mean? Like I was coming out of college and I needed to find work and a job. And so I was trading ICOs and I was flipping shit. And the difference is that I couldn't have launched a token because I didn't have a brand or a following or anything that was able to allow me to get a competitive advantage in this space. And so I was just buying ICOs and shit. But like for celebrities getting into the space, they see it the same way that you and I see it, which is like, this is a game that is meant to be played. And if I play this game well, I will make a lot of money because this is a net new space that has a shit ton of upside and opportunity. And so I guess something that I've always been confused about is sort of like the immediate like slashing of like, okay, person with big brand comes into the space, they're a scammer, they're just cash grabbing. No, they're just playing the game the way they know best. Like they figured out how to build a following on Instagram or on TikTok or on Twitter or like wherever they got famous from. And now they're just bringing that same energy into crypto. And what happens is that attention is a lot more consolidated. And so you see these giant spikes up in energy. But bro, I kind of feel for like a lot of the celebrities that are trying to get into the space, because it's not fun to come into a space and feel like you're on the outside when you've been so good at winning the space as it currently exists. And so I saw this like tweet recently, which was like, someone's like, oh yeah, if you're a celebrity joining, just go and buy tokens like everyone else and like understand and learn the space. But it's like, why would I go and just buy random ass meme coins on Solana and Base that I know nothing about to like build community authenticity when I can go and launch my own token and fully have my own control over the success of it, because I am a brand and I know how to actually build attention and build hype and build energy and whatnot. So I don't know, I think it's worth calling out that I'm really excited about what's happening with like celebrities getting into the space, but I do think the crypto world has gotten a little bit too cynical and a little bit too strict and hard on new people joining the space. And I think we need to be more welcoming of people wanting to try it out, because that's the only way that we get celebrities to not just launch pump and dumps and actually like be a part of this and want to be around it, because they feel like they can actually learn something and be in a space that they feel welcome and seen in the first place.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, we've launched millions and millions of tokens, and I was reading a thread about this, like about celebrity tokens and how it's like, yeah, like pretty much what you said, like it's all pump and dumps. Like, I mean, not malicious and not like, oh, we're just gonna squeeze as much money as possible, but that's how things work in crypto. Like they pump and then people dump them. Like there's just every legit token is like that, just like every scam token is like that, except with legit, it like goes further and there's a less harsh of a dump and there's some value built along the way. There's like, yeah, it's not just a pure bubble, but like there's some substance to it. But like most of crypto space is just speculation and people just joining and seeing how far it goes.
And there's a beautiful thing about that. You know, I'll say that what I've really taken a lot of peace in is recognizing that crypto space is extremely volatile, you know, and the crypto space is extremely weird and it's extremely niche. And I think that, you know, the reason we've been able to find success with the record label, and maybe after this I can talk more about like how we're working with artists and what that process looks like, but we tell them on our very first call, like, hey, crypto is really intimidating. It's really hard to understand. There's a lot of nuance here. We don't expect you to be super tapped into the space. Like as long as you have a song and a cover art and you send that to us, we can take care of all of the crypto jargon, all of the crypto overhead, the operational lift of it. We make them a wallet. We're uploading the song for them. We're creating frames on Farcaster and whatnot. And I just think that it's really important to recognize that like the space is what it is and don't try and make it something it's not. Like I think that people are so over people trying to sell crypto as this like, you know, really fundamental, like net new, it's the future, man. Like it's going to change everything. Like it's decentralized, like kumbaya, like we're all going to figure it out. It's like, dude, we're all just fucking around on Uniswap and trying to figure out like what the next token is that's going to go up and like whatever the next trend is that's going to pop off. And so I don't know, I think there's just a lot of, I think that we could all do better in terms of just like calling it how it is. And especially when it comes to onboarding new people to the space, like not trying to present it as this magic secret thing that we found that is like going to fundamentally change the world tomorrow. And instead just recognize like, yo, the space is extremely volatile. There's a ton of crazy shit going on, but like the longer you're in it, the more it kind of makes sense. And if you're willing to take a bet on it, then I'm here to help you. But recognize that that's going to be a very long journey because I'm still figuring it out. And I've been in the space for like close to 10 years now. So you better believe someone that's never been in the space before is going to have a hell of a lot more questions and need to take a hell of a lot more time to really feel like they understand what's going on in the first place.
Definitely. Yeah, I think this cycle with meme coins, we kind of landed on that like, okay, so like most of the crypto space is a giant casino and it's like the best casino in the world. And it's like, okay, we have to be okay with that. That seems to be the main use case so far.
And I think there's a lot of merit to it. And I don't want to go too far down the meme coin rabbit hole because I know it's been kind of talked about quite a lot lately, but I just love how it's something that anyone can easily wrap their head around. You know, you don't have to be into crypto to really necessarily understand like a good meme or understand like a good profile picture or ticker symbol or whatnot. And I think that there's pros and cons to both sides of it. But what meme coins represent to me is from a high level, like accessibility. Like it's almost continuing the spectrum of what NFTs unlocked, which was a way for people to feel like they can understand it very easily. And then further than that, on a more fundamental level, meme coins represent like a fundamental reshifting of value accrual. You know, in 99% of cases, these meme coins are not raising venture funding and they don't have these private rounds and they're not launching at these crazy FDVs. And so as someone who's been into crypto, you feel like you actually have a chance at making it. You don't feel like you're getting dumped on by giant institutions. You don't feel like you're getting boxed out until the token's worth like $500 million on Pump Fund or on any of these, you know, meme coin launchers. You can get in at 1, 5, 10K market cap and have these crazy wins that have historically only been given to private investors. And so like from a very high level, the reason why I'm so bullish on like meme coins esoterically is that it makes it a lot easier to get in the space, and it also creates equal opportunity for everyone that's involved. And so I think a lot of the learnings from meme coin have really been informing the way that we see music NFTs evolving and the way that we see our record label evolving, because we want those same things to be true of fans supporting artists, which is easy to understand, easy to get in with, and completely equal access, where if you're a fan of an artist, you have just as much ability to see the upside of them as someone else who has hundreds, if not millions of dollars to be able to put into that artist in the first place.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think I agree with everything, pretty much everything that you said. Like, I think big part of the reason why meme coins are so big is just like bad regulation. And I think like we kind of had it better with ICOs because they were like trying to build legit projects and everybody could invest. Whereas now like all the legit projects go down the VC route because they're kind of forced. And then if you want to get in early, like the only thing that you can get in early on is fucking meme coins.
Well, I see both sides of it. You know, one of the interesting things for me the last couple of years has been I raised a venture fund about like a year and a half ago. And so I've been investing in a lot of private rounds, doing pre-seed, seed stage stuff. And then I started the record label and I built a team around that. And I sort of started to see what it looked like from like the founder perspective. You know, we're building product. We have a full team that's, you know, working on building the brand every day. And I started to recognize the value of why a founder would want to raise private investments over doing a public token launch, because once you launch the token, you can't really go back. And I mean, having been involved with so many token launches at this point, like it is the single most stressful thing that exists in the world. You're basically IPOing, except you're IPOing before your company has found product market fit, before your brand has resonated with people. And you're almost like having to juggle this public board of investors with you trying to figure out what you're building in the first place. And so something that I've been really trying to think about is like, what is the proper relationship between venture funding and between like full meme coin? It's publicly liquid from day one at $1. There's definitely like a middle ground there, but I do think that this like meme coin narrative has like pulled us back towards open liquidity as early into the life cycle as possible. And what that's manifested as for us, and just to go into like some more specifics, I feel like I've been yapping a lot from a high level, so I might as well talk about what we're actually building here. Is we built a product called Sonata lately. It's Sonata.tips, a music discovery platform on top of Farcaster. And we've been using a protocol called Stacks to launch an Onchain point system. And so we basically have a token that already exists in the product, but it's not liquid and you can't trade it on Uniswap or anything like that. But there's a token that's in the product. And so you can use it right now to tip people for the music that they like. If you have a trending track on the platform, you earn the token. And what I've been saying to my team is like, let's really lean into what this token's purpose is within this product prior to the token being liquid in the first place. And I think now we're starting to see this like points meta emerge, where the reason that I find it valuable is that you get to experiment with what a token looks like in your product without all of the pressure of having that token be live and going up and down crazy in price swings and there being yield farmers and all these crazy ass activities. And hopefully where I think this will land is that teams will be able to experiment with like a beta token, which is just like it's in the product, but it's not live, it's not liquid, but it's being given to all of your early users in a way that when that token does launch, and hopefully it goes well, the people who are going to see the most upside are not the people who snipe your liquidity pool on Uniswap. It's going to be the people who are using your products. And I think if we can start to create systems where the early users of these networks are the ones who are really seeing the true upside in these airdrops and really seeing the true upside in these tokens going to billions of dollars, I think that will create this really strong case study of like why I want to build consumer applications in the space, because normal ass people can actually see life-changing things happen because they were willing to help you find product market fit in the first place, which is what all of us are doing here when it all comes down to it at the end of the day.
Right. I like that. And we got into the weeds of meme coins and celebrity coins. I want to go back to Coop Records. So I wanted to ask you, what's the role that the record label plays in Web3? There's been a big shift in general, not just with Web3, but from the analog world record labels where it was all about distribution, to the internet when everybody can distribute themselves, to now Web3. So how do you see this shift?
Honestly, I think that the role of a label in crypto is exactly the same as the role of a label in the traditional world. And the two ways to categorize that would be distribution, so being able to get your song in front of more people, and funding, to be able to incentivize people to want to collect those records in the first place. And so if you think about the role that Coop Records plays, 99% of artists that come into the space for the first time have no clue how to get people to hear about their music. They have no clue what platforms to be on, what partners to work with, how to run ad campaigns, how to market their music. And so we are taking on all that heavy lifting of saying, hey, you have a great song. If you just upload it to a platform like Sound Resort today, it's probably going to get 3 or 5 minutes because discovery is not that great on these platforms. There's not really any crossover from an artist being popular on Spotify to them being desired as collectible on chain. And so we're kind of doing all the heavy lifting of just getting that song into the wallets of people who have never heard it before. And so what this looks like is running Boost and Quest on platforms like Boost XYZ, on Layer 3, on Coinvise. And we're basically just incentivizing people to want to collect this music. We're saying, hey, if this free edition costs $3 to collect, we're going to give you back $1.50 of this latest meme coin that we're excited about, because we want you to discover this artist, but we also want to give you something that you are already accustomed to, having been in crypto for a long time. And I think right now, the role of the record label is that we're creating all these relationships with these partners. We're driving a lot of mints for the artists, but we're also putting capital behind it. And I think it's something that is frowned upon in the space for some reason. But if you think about how any music works in the traditional world, there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars that go into making a song blow up and go to top 40 radio that has them going across, Sirius XM, and has them playing in shopping malls and all these places that you subliminally listen to music. And so I don't understand why in crypto we think that it's bad to put funding behind records and actually make them popular on chain. And so the biggest role that we're playing is not only working with these partners to be able to set up these quests and these campaigns to get mints, but also actually funding those mints themselves, where we'll say, hey, people seem to really like this song. Let's put $500 in it. People have minted this song, 1,000 times. Let's put another $1,000 into it. And what we're doing internally at the record label is basically having conversations around what do we see the upside of this artist being, and how do we actually use our funding to distribute rewards to the people collecting it, as opposed to just buying the editions ourselves. We could go out as a record label and just say, hey, put a song on chain and we're going to buy 100 editions of it, 1,000 editions of it. And for what it's worth, this is what I was doing with music NFTs for the longest time. Was I was just buying them myself. I would go on Sound and go on Catalog and buy all these records because I loved these artists and I wanted to support them. But the reality is, the ceiling just stopped because there was no one new coming into the space. It was just me and a couple of close friends just buying all these music NFTs. And so the approach we took with the label is let's take that capital and let's put that capital into the pockets of the people who are collecting these records to give them more of a reason to want to do it. I'll be the first to say we don't have it figured out, but I am really stoked to say that we've had about 250K, unique mints on our music so far. We've done about 285 records from 70 plus artists. We're doing about 5 to 10 releases a week. On the high end, artists, they're making anywhere from the craziest releases of ours have done 30 ETH in revenue, but on average, a good release of ours does about 1 to 3 ETH, which for equivalence sake is, let's call it $5,000 to $10,000. That's 1 to 3 million streams on Spotify. And these artists are getting that within the first 2 to 3 weeks of releasing with us. And they don't have any expectation of speculation utility. And so for them, they're just hey, crypto is a space that was able to make me $5,000. No one's going to say that you're rug pulling or cash grabbing because you made $5,000. And it's a relationship that makes them excited to lean in more. So I guess just tying that all full circle, the role of a label in the space is to provide distribution and to provide capital. And the reason that we've been able to do what we're doing well so far is that I have such a deep rooted love for music that we can go and talk to people in a very natural way. I was at this party last night in LA, and people were just Yeah, you know, if I didn't know you, there's no way I would actually be down to like do shit in crypto. Like if I didn't see you at these events or I didn't see you like, you know, DJing or doing these things, like I wouldn't trust you to want to put my music on chain because it just feels like the whole space is a scam. But because, you know, me and my colleagues have been in music for so long, we're finding these artists where they're at, you know, when they're going to shows and when they're out, you know, just enjoying life and doing what they're doing. And it's created this really amazing relationship where I can reach out to an artist on Instagram or text them or get connected to their manager and just say, hey, it was great to see you at that show last weekend. Can I tell you a little bit more about this crypto record label we're doing? And would you be open to trying out some music on chain because it's really low stakes for you? And there's really nothing to lose from trying it in the first place.
Right. I loved it. And yeah, you're in the right place. Like you're in the heart of the the art industry, like in LA. Where did you move from to LA, by the way? I thought that you were from LA.
No, I actually grew up in Philadelphia and I went to Colorado for college about, you know, maybe 10 years ago at this point, lived there for about 5 years and then graduated school, ended up moving back in with my parents back in Philadelphia. And that's when I just went full on like crypto conference grind. So, I mean, I remember me and you staying at that Airbnb in France, like in one of the earliest ECCs, like the day before COVID started basically. But I was like full time just traveling, trying to go to like Southeast Asia, South America and stuff like that. Came back, was with my parents for probably like a year, basically at the very beginning of the pandemic. And then I moved to LA like 2020, basically direct middle of the pandemic. And I just knew, man. I mean, like NFTs were starting to pop off and I was like, I need to get the fuck out of Philly. Like I need to get out of my parents' basement. Like I need to go and figure out how to like do shit in this world. And so I really just full sent it. I didn't know anyone in LA, but I just knew that I loved music and I knew that I loved crypto. And I knew that if I trusted in it enough, there was going to be a through line there that made it all worth it.
Love it. And I remember that you found the energy, like even in Paris, like you went to a party after ECC.
Yeah, shout out Zed's Dead. I remember that Paris party. I went to Zed's Dead on the river in Paris, literally the day before they closed the borders. And one of the most chaotic shows I've ever been to. People were like throwing up, people were mosh pitting and stuff like that. And honestly, man, what I'll say about crypto is that like the biggest value of it is that you get to travel the world with your friends very frequently. And it's almost like you have to choose not to do it to like stay in and actually work because there's always a million hackathons. There's a million conferences. You can go to, you know, New York, or you can go to Paris, you can go to Tokyo, or like this year we're going to DevCon in Bogota or in Bangkok, excuse me. And it's just like, I don't know, man. I feel like a big reason why I'm so thankful for the space and thankful for relationships like this one is that you and I met on the internet first, but we formed our personal relationship in many different places around the world that people would never normally go to. Like the fact that we saw each other in Paris and Denver and all these other places is really oddly unique. And I think it's a big reason why I'm such a big proponent and a believer in this space is that it creates experiences and opportunities that are just like unforgettable. And I genuinely just feel so grateful to be a part of it because it's really made my life something that I'm just super proud of and something that I'm super happy with each and every day.
For sure. Yeah, it's a crazy traveling circus and and there's never a lack of places to go next. All right, I see we are nearing your cutoff time, so let's see what we got here.
I got one more topic I'd like to bring up, if that's cool with you.
Let's do it.
I think something that's been really foundational in my love of the space this last cycle has been Farcaster. And I don't know how many people who listen to this are like actually on Farcaster using it or whatnot, but I had a big falling out on Twitter, as I'm sure people are aware of. And I really lost, all hope and love for that platform. Like it was kind of like the central place that I was yapping about DAOs and NFTs and DeFi and whatnot and music NFTs. And there was a period of time there during the bear market where I really just like didn't want to talk online at all. Like I didn't want to be tweeting anything. I didn't want to be like saying anything because I just thought that I was going to get roasted or ridiculed or just like laughed at or whatever it was. And so I want to give a big shout out to Farcaster here because it really gave me a new place to be speaking about what we're working on. And it's become sort of the foundation for everything that we're building. So if you go to the Coop Records account on Farcaster at Coop Rex, that's where we're building our brand from. We built Sonata as a music product on top of Farcaster. I've been building a personal brand on there. Alpha is that we're building this channel called Louder right now with the guys at Hume. And just high level, I am so thankful and passionate about Farcaster. And so if you've heard about it or you haven't really dabbled with it or you haven't dove in yet, I would highly recommend it. I think that there's still a tremendous amount of opportunity there. And it's something that's played a huge role in my love for crypto at this current moment. So want to just give it a big shout out and just make sure that people are aware of it and spend some time there if they haven't already so far.
For sure. One of the most successful products so far. I also wanted to ask you, like, you blew up on Twitter, then you blew up on Farcaster. How do you get so many followers, man?
Well, Twitter was just a fucking grind. Like, Twitter for me was just like, trying to get as connected to as many projects and people as possible for years and years on end. And frankly, it was just very market dependent. Like, my growth on Twitter was extremely correlated to not only DeFi popping off, but then NFTs popping off. Like, I was able to get to about like 5 to 10K followers on Twitter during DeFi summer, but I feel like that market was inherently capped because DeFi was such a hard thing to understand. When NFTs came around, I was just in the right place at the right time. I just feel like people wanted to be following people that knew what was going on with NFTs. I was very lucky in the sense that I was early to a lot of NFT projects. So I kind of just caught like a wave or caught like a bid with it, where people who were net new to crypto just felt like they could follow me to get a good perspective on the space. For Farcaster, I'm going to be completely honest with everyone here that I was just early to the platform. I think I was like the 200th person to sign up for it. Didn't use it for a year, came back, started using it really actively. And then the Farcaster team put me in their like auto follow list. And so when you join Farcaster, it just asks you to select interests. Like, what do you like? And you can select crypto, you can select art, you can select music, etc. And if you select music, chances are it probably follows me. And so I would say that a huge reason why I've been able to get so many followers on Farcaster has been the auto follow. But more than that, it's just been consistency. And I know this is something that might be hard to like kind of really digest, but the reason anyone blows up on any of these platforms is that they're just tweeting and casting like 5-10 times a day. And it's like a full-time job. And I think I see a lot of people in the space like maybe tweet once every week, like once every 2 weeks or something like that. The reality is the more that you invest into the algorithms and into like the energy of these platforms, the more they're going to go to bat for you. So for me with Farcaster, it was just like me casting 5-10 times a day. And at some point the team saw them like, oh, this guy like actually uses our product. We're going to start like shifting the attention towards him. So that's kind of my answer is be early and be consistent and good things are going to happen.
Right. Yeah, be early is sounds like a big part of it, and it comes down, I guess, to just following your interests, and that's what you were doing. Like, you were just following what you were interested in, and you were tweeting, and that was it.
And I would say thank you for giving me a space to talk about this stuff. I recognize that I am way more passionate about crypto and music than I think 99% of people that are listening to this, but I've really found peace in just recognizing that this is like my place and purpose. And it's probably going to evolve and change at some point in time. But for right now, I just feel so grateful and thankful to be living in a place that I feel excited to wake up every morning. So shout out to you for having me on this podcast. It's really great to reconnect. And I'm very, thankful for the opportunity to just come up here and talk about Coop Records and everything that we've been working on.
I love it. Yeah, thank you for coming on. And yeah, I always love seeing your tweets. Like, you're always so grateful to be where you are and to wake up and work on what you love working on. So I love to see it, man. Your ascent has been great. And,
well, I look forward to seeing you at another conference soon. For those who are listening all the way to the end, follow me on Farcaster at koopatroopa.eth, Coop Records at CoopRex. And I look forward to hearing more about everything that you're working on. And if you are listening to this and you found it interesting, please feel free to shoot me a DM. Would love to give any feedback I can on what you're building or the products that you're working on, etc. So open slate, open book, open DMs. Pete, appreciate you dearly, man. And this was a fun episode.
Awesome. Fuck yeah. And we're going to include all those links in the description so you can just click them and not type them. So yeah, thank you again for coming on. This was fun.
My pleasure, man.